he was 100% inspired by ISIS.
Tonight, new details about the extremist motivations of the man who carried out a terror attack on New Orleans' Bourbon Street.
It was premeditated and an evil act.
The FBI says the attacker left 2 explosive devices in coolers around the French Quarter and acted alone.
We're not prepared to rule in or rule out anything at this point.
Plus, what we're learning about the driver of the Cybertruck that blew up just off the Las Vegas Strip. The CBS Evening News starts now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in for Nora. The FBI said today investigators have found no definitive link between the deadly New Year's morning truck attack in New Orleans and the explosion of a Tesla Cybertruck some hours later outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. We will have the latest tonight on both investigations.
And I'm Tony DeCopel in New Orleans on a balcony overlooking the famed Bourbon Street. The FBI calling the attack here premeditated and evil. And while the investigation continues, authorities say they are now confident that the attacker acted alone. They also say new evidence, including video posted to social media, shows that Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar was, quote, 100% inspired by ISIS. This world-famous party known as Bourbon Street reopened to the public today, demonstrating yet again the Big Easy's ability to bounce back. And tonight, we're also learning more about the 14 people killed in the attack, their families mourning a loss on a day on the calendar set aside for celebration. We're going to hear some of their stories in just a moment. And while investigators say the attacker was killing in the name of ISIS, the FBI is also asking for tips from the public tonight, releasing these images of Jabbar an hour before the attack, along with a photo of a cooler with an explosive device inside. CBS's Omar Villafranca now with everything we know about the investigation.
I need EMS to get down Bourbon now. We have dozens of people that got hit by this car.
Less than 48 hours after the deadly attack on Bourbon Street, a clearer picture of the man behind the mayhem. FBI officials say they now believe 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar acted alone in carrying out the New Year's Day attack that left at least 14 people dead.
This was an act of terrorism. It was premeditated and an evil act.
This video shows people dodging Jabbar's truck as he accelerated down Bourbon Street early Wednesday morning. Crashed shortly afterwards and opened fire. Jabbar was killed on scene in a gunfight with police.
He originally planned to harm his family and friends, but was concerned the news headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers.
Jabbar, a decorated U.S. Army veteran who served in Afghanistan, pledged his allegiance to ISIS before last summer, according to investigators. The FBI says he rented an electric truck on Monday in Houston, Texas, where he lived, and drove to New Orleans on Tuesday evening. After midnight on the morning of the attack, he placed 2 improvised explosive devices in coolers in the French Quarter. He posted a final online video proclaiming his support for ISIS just minutes before he plowed into the crowd on Bourbon Street. From the White House today, President Biden revealed Jabbar also had a remote detonator. Records show Jabbar had worked in real estate in recent years and was a former employee of the consulting firm Deloitte. He had been married and divorced 3 times, and one of his previous wives had a temporary restraining order against him. Authorities are still trying to piece together how and when he became radicalized. 3 phones and 2 laptops linked to Jabbar have been recovered. Tonight, Bourbon Street has reopened, a turn from tragedy to normalcy.
But we will restore, we will return to normalcy, and we can do that and still show respect and honor.
And we also just heard from President Biden, who said he will try to make his way to New Orleans soon. We also have Omar Villafranca here. Omar, less than 48 hours from this attack, an attack that happened, believe it or not, it's hard to imagine, on the street below us, and yet there's a party there going on right now. What's the mood like tonight?
Tony, it looks like Bourbon Street. It's starting to sound like Bourbon Street, and it's slowly starting to feel like Bourbon Street. And part of that is because of the heavy police presence. New Orleans PD. You also have state troopers, FBI agents and Homeland Security agents all walking around trying to make people who are coming here after the game feel safe.
Yeah, and yet the energy level is going up by the second.
It
Omar,
is.
thank you very much. Just before Bourbon Street reopened to the public today, though, there was a small ceremony honoring the 14 people who died in this attack. They were honored with a yellow rose representing each and every one of the victims. And tonight, as more of the faces and the names of those victims are being revealed and made public, their loved ones are also beginning to share their stories. For many of the families, there is no making sense of it. How a New Year's celebration on Bourbon Street could turn into a lifetime now of mourning.
We still haven't really wrapped our minds around that. A terrorist attack took our Matthew.
Zach Colgan's cousin, Matthew Tenedorio, was 25. A goofball, he remembers. He lived here, and like so many others, was ringing in the new year with friends.
His laugh was contagious. If he had a superpower, that would be like his secret superpower to make people laugh.
Reggie Hunter, meanwhile, was 37, a father of two from Baton Rouge, his youngest son just a toddler. And his cousin Sherelle Robinson Jackson says while he worked as a warehouse manager, what he loved was his family.
They're crying. They're feeling numb right now. They're hurting.
Nikira Cheyenne Dido was 18, a recent high school grad from Mississippi whose dream was becoming a nurse like her mother. And Hubert Gothrow, 21 and class of 21 at the Catholic school that confirmed his death, and has asked the entire Archbishop Shaw community for their prayers. Nicole Perez was 27, the manager of Kimmy's Deli just outside New Orleans, a dedicated worker, according to her boss, and a loving mom. She leaves behind a 4-year-old son.
My heart's broke.
Here's Nicole's mother, Martha.
She works so hard. She have a lot of dreams. She have a lot of dreams. She can't do it now. She's gone.
Kareem Badawi was a freshman at the University of Alabama. A lovely boy, his father remembered on social media. What he loved was football. And so did Martin Besh, a star player at his Louisiana high school where he was nicknamed Tiger. He went on to play at Princeton University before moving to New York City. He still loved to hunt and fish, though, his mother said, adding, he went out at the top of the world. Just some of the 14 people who came here to Bourbon Street for celebration and who never made it home from that celebration, even as, strange to say, the party begins once again tonight all around me, which brings us to the big football game going on here, a college playoff game that drew tens of thousands of fans here to New Orleans. The Sugar Bowl, it kicked off today about a mile from the Sorrows here at Bourbon Street, and after it was postponed for a day. Security was tight as CBS's Michelle Miller made her way inside.
A college football playoff under a dome of security. The previously sold-out crowd surrounded by SWAT teams, specialized barriers, bomb-sniffing dogs, and drones. An unprecedented level of security in place to defend the powerhouse matchup between Notre Dame and Georgia, blocks away from yesterday's terror attack on Bourbon Street.
We think that we can keep this community safe. We've shown it time and time again. We are a city that has so much crowd management.
But that must-go-on mentality is facing criticism.
I understand that there are logistics involved and that this needs to go forward, but for me, the top concern is the law enforcement investigation, and to me, that takes priority over everything.
We walked into a sea of fans seemingly waiting to exhale.
Did you think twice about coming?
We did not. We figured it'd be just as safe as any other time. We figured we had a lot of confidence in the city to protect everybody.
I know, I've lived here. I know that the city does a great job with crowds, but this was something different. This was something so evil and sinister. So yeah, I did think twice about it.
And after a moment of silence and a kickoff, the Bulldogs met the Fighting Irish on a field that's often proven to provide relief in desperate times. And inside the dome, many say that energetic jubilation and release was not a sign of disrespect to the dead, but rather a determination to win back their sense of normalcy Tony.
I can understand that sentiment, Michelle. No one knows this city and loves it the way you do. Thank you very much for your reporting. And Major, we're going to have updates throughout the night on this story on CBS News 24/7. But for now, we will send it back to you in Washington.
Tony DeCopel, thank you, and our thanks to all of our correspondents and crews in New Orleans. Switching focus now to Las Vegas, where today authorities said a decorated Green Beret took his own life with a pistol before a rented Tesla Cybertruck he was driving blew up outside the Trump Hotel. More details now from CBS's Andres Gutierrez.
Investigators say the blast happened in less than 20 seconds. Inside the charged Cybertruck, forensic teams recovered a military ID, a passport, 2 semi-automatic guns bought legally on Monday, and credit cards, leading police to believe the driver was 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger, a highly decorated Green Beret who was on leave from his base in Germany.
And I'm comfortable calling it a suicide with the bombing that occurred immediately thereafter. I'm not giving it any other labels.
Newly released images and video show the suspect on the Las Vegas Strip approximately an hour before the explosion. At one point, he could be seen here driving through the valet drop-off at the Trump International Hotel. Later, the suspect comes back around and parks in the valet drop-off. Police say then he shot himself in the head before the truck exploded. The ATF says some of the materials found at the scene were consumer-grade fireworks and fuel enhancers that can be purchased at sporting goods stores.
The level of sophistication is not what we would expect from an individual with this type of military experience.
Federal officials say there's no connection between this incident and the New Orleans attack.
At this point, there is no definitive link between the attack here in New Orleans and the one in Las Vegas.
Livelsberger's family told CBS News his wife hadn't heard from him in days and that he had no signs of extremist views or mental health issues.
And now, late today, Las Vegas police confirmed that Livelsberg was the driver of that Cybertruck. The confirmation was done to DNA testing because his body was burned beyond recognition. The cause of death, suicide. The motive of the explosion remains unknown. Major?
Andres Gutierrez, thank you. For the first time, we're seeing new video of the person suspected of placing pipe bombs on Capitol Hill ahead of the riot on January 6, 2021, nearly 4 years ago. The devices were discovered as the crowd approached the Capitol. CBS's Scott McFarlane has the latest.
Newly released images from the FBI give us a different look at the person suspected of deploying live pipe bombs on Capitol Hill on the night of January 5, 2021, including the Nike Air Max sneakers he or she wore. And potentially the most specific clue yet, the man or woman in the hood and mask is estimated at 5 feet, 7 inches tall.
The person who deposited the devices came right down here, walked down this street, by all the homes. That's correct. All the cameras.
FBI Assistant Director in D.C., David Sundberg, says the bombs were deposited the night before the U.S. Capitol siege, but weren't discovered by law enforcement until the siege was beginning.
They're viable devices that could have detonated and could have seriously injured or killed someone.
An intense 4-year probe has yielded at least 1,000 interviews and 600 tips, but hasn't yielded a suspect, despite a $500,000 reward and in an area saturated with security cameras. The FBI has reviewed 39,000 video files.
Suspect is wearing a hood and gloves and a mask, which makes it even more challenging. In the winter of January 2021, that all made sense.
It did, and it would not have struck any passerby as out of the ordinary because of the combination of cold weather and the pandemic at the time.
Scott McFarlane joins us now from outside the Capitol, where there is pressing business tomorrow. Scott, what is it?
A new Congress, and the first order of business is electing a House Speaker. Mike Johnson of Louisiana wants to keep the job, but he has a very small majority and an even smaller margin for error. He can lose just one Republican vote on the floor and still win the speakership. Major, there are multiple undecided Republicans who met with Johnson late into the evening here in Washington.
The drama continues. Scott McFarlane, thank you. Millions of Americans are in the path of a brutal cold front and a monster winter storm. The forecast when we come back. It is a snowy start to 2025, especially along the Great Lakes. More than a foot of lake effect snow is already piled up in parts of New York and Pennsylvania, and there is more to come, along with a brutally cold Arctic blast. CBS's Rob Marciano is here with the details. Rob, good evening.
Hey, Major, lots of cold coming in, waves of it, as a matter of fact. You're feeling it in the east, and you're seeing it in some of that video with the lake effect snows across the northeast. And they're still continuing off Lake Ontario and Erie, all the way into parts of southern Massachusetts and southern New England. Lake effect snow warnings remain up through Sunday. Very active. We've got a pulse coming through Chicago. That may dump an inch of snow, but a bigger pulse of energy coming into the Pacific Northwest. And that's going to affect the Midwest on Saturday. And look at the cold air that we've got coming in on Saturday, below freezing from Louisville to Kansas City and well below that north of that. So when you get moisture on top of that, that's when you get problems. Winter storm warnings or watches are posted from Wichita up through parts of Oklahoma and through Indianapolis. And that's where we'll see maybe 10 to 14 inches of snow potentially between I-40 and I-70. Maybe some ice in there as well. Here's our computer model. Started Saturday night, move it into Sunday. Chicago, just south of you, I think where the action will be. Indianapolis, down towards Cincinnati, you might see several inches of snow, up to a foot of snow there. And the precip field moves into the northeast, and places like D.C. could see several inches of snow on the ground come Monday morning. And whatever does fall will stick as the cold sticks around through next week. Major?
Rob Marciano, thank you. A small plane has crashed near an airport south of Los Angeles. The details just coming in next. We have a developing story of a plane crash in Southern California. Police say approximately 18 people were hurt when a small plane slammed into the roof of a furniture warehouse near Fullerton Municipal Airport in Orange County. The crash sparked a fire, prompting authorities to evacuate the area. And we will be right back. As we have been reporting, two of America's most popular cities to visit, New Orleans and Las Vegas, saw horrifying starts to the new year. Feelings of shock and sadness are being felt coast to coast. As CBS's Jim Axelrod reports in tonight's Eye on America, that's a disturbing frame of mind at any time of year, but especially disorienting right now.
Historically, not a whole lot happens on January 1st. Maybe some cleanup from the night before.
Look at that.
It's always been a day for parades and ball games. New Year's Day news over the years hasn't exactly been stop the presses. 1934, Alcatraz becomes a federal prison.
This is Marlboro country.
1971, President Nixon outlaws cigarette ads on TV. One of the biggest New Year's Day stories ever was what didn't happen. Y2K. None of the feared tech disruptions materialized.
I need EMS. I can now Bourbon now.
But not this year. America didn't even make it to breakfast before confronting the grim reality that greeted 2025.
It seems like it's almost like a funeral out here.
At least 14 innocent people were murdered early New Year's Day in the attack in New Orleans, the deadliest act of mass murder in the U.S. in more than a year.
Shock was my initial reaction, especially like knowing that we were so close.
But before the horrifying images from New Orleans could even be processed around the country, another disturbing set joined them from Las Vegas. Maybe it'll turn out the truck made by Elon Musk's company exploding at Trump Tower wasn't connected, or even terrorism, at all. But given the world we now live in, would it be a bigger surprise if it was?
We're absolutely investigating any connectivity to what happened in New Orleans.
We know that no place and no time of year is safe. Less than 2 weeks ago, a similar attack at a Christmas market in Germany left 5 dead and 200 injured. 3 years ago, it was a man plowing through a Christmas parade in Wisconsin, killing 6. We know it can happen, but we hope it won't.
We can't live in fear, because fear will paralyze us.
And maybe that explains the added dimension of torment to this latest act of terror. The first few days of January are maybe the most hopeful days of the year. No resolutions yet broken, no goals unmet. But not this year. And while they're already talking about resilience in New Orleans,
we're always going to remember this, but we'll be able to get through it and come back to where we belong.
Hope has already been shattered. For Eye on America, I'm Jim Axelrod in New York.
And that is tonight's CBS Evening News. For Nora O'Donnell, I'm Major Garrett. Good night.